fourth grade champions. We're reading today Out of My Shell, a book that I'm enjoying by Goebel. We are beginning, actually, I'm going to begin at the bottom of page 82, kind of regrouping a little bit, repeating from where we were yesterday. Bottom page 82. For a while, Aiden didn't say anything. Then his bony shoulders rose upward in a shrug. Why do you do that? Do what? Care so much about what everyone else thinks and does? I don't, I said, maybe a little too forcefully. Aiden's eyebrows rose above his glasses. Oh, so the reason you wouldn't talk to me earlier wasn't because of your aunt? I guess you didn't want to talk to me then, he pouted. You haven't since you got here. That's not fair, I said. I did. I do want to talk to you. Despite how badly I wanted to smooth things over with Aiden, we were off to another rocky start. Then maybe you should try doing more of what you want and less of what everyone expects from you. I began to protest and clamped my mouth shut. I'd spent the entire afternoon watching a kiddie movie with Lainey and the twins, then entertaining them while the adults talked. I'd wasted a good portion of the day trying to please my family instead of doing something really important to me, working on my project. How could I defend myself when Aiden was right? I changed the subject. What did you want to talk about? I asked hesitantly. What if he asked about my dad? Aiden's chest heaved and collapsed as he inhaled deeply and then let the air out. I don't know, he said at last. I just needed to get out of Grandpa's place. He said you came by yesterday, so I thought, I don't know what I thought. He and Mom have a lot of things to discuss right now, so I decided to give them some space. I wasn't sure if this made me feel better or worse. Maybe worse. He'd just been looking to get out of his grandpa's unit, not searching for me. And I wondered what his mom and Mr. Emerson had to discuss. When he didn't explain, I said, I met Mr. Shaw today. Yeah? Aiden dropped the cube he'd been holding. It fell to his lap. Good for you. What's that supposed to mean? I said, slightly hurt by the tone of his voice. Nothing, Aiden said. He's just making things rough on Grandpa, that's all. How? So the old owner, Aiden sat up straight, suddenly more animated than I've seen him this trip. He appreciates all Grandpa does for the beachcomber, but Mr. Shaw wants to hire an outside company to manage the inn. He gets extra money if he can rent out Grandpa's place too. But then Grandpa will be out of a job and a home. Aiden's voice grew higher as he continued talking. Mom wants him to move in with us, but our apartment only has 2 bedrooms. I don't mind sharing, but Grandpa says I shouldn't have to bunk with an old man. Now he's working long hours, doing extra stuff around the inn. He wants to prove he's irreplaceable. Aiden tilted his body closer to mine. He can't lose this job. He says no one else is going to hire a dinosaur like him. Those might have been the most words I'd ever heard Aiden string together in one sitting. And I wondered how long they'd been waiting to come out. I knew about all things that were hard to talk about. I wondered if Aiden had been acting more serious this summer because of what was going on with his grandfather. Maybe he wasn't too old and too cool to mess around with me now. Maybe he was just worried. During his outpouring, he'd stared off into the distance. Now he peered from the corner of his eye, doing a bad job, pretending he wasn't looking at me. That's terrible, I said. I sifted grains through my fingers, then pressed my palm into the sand. I'm planning to talk to Mr. Shaw tomorrow, I hedged. Maybe I can tell him to speak with my grandparents. They could say good things, tell Mr. Shaw what a hard worker your grandpa is and how valuable he's been to the inn all these years. They've known him a long time. Aiden turned his head to look at me straight on. I don't know, he said skeptically. I'm not sure Mr. Shaw is the type of person you can reason with. That wasn't exactly what I wanted to hear. My shoulders must have dropped a little because Aiden cocked his head and said, Olivia, what are you planning to talk? Why are you planning to talk to Mr. Shaw? Olivia, not Liv. Like most everyone else, he regularly switched between my name and nickname. This time, though, it sounded formal, distant. Was it worry for his grandpa, or did he view me differently this summer? I still couldn't tell. I was nervous to share my plan. I wouldn't be able to stand it if he told me my idea was dumb and childish. But then he lowered his chin and gazed up at me from beneath his dark lashes. He said, Come on, Liv. I've spilled the beans about my grandpa. Tell me what's going on with you, please. He had opened up to me. That meant something, and his bad mood seemed to be evaporating. He seemed like he truly cared. I stared back into his dark, pleading eyes, and just like that, the wall between us evaporated. Everything came pouring out. Everything. I told him about the divorce first. Once I got going, I wondered why I hadn't said something sooner. It felt so much better to unload. Aiden sat very still while I talked. I found his hand in the sand and rested my fingertips on top of his. Then I told him what I found out about bright lights and turtles at the aquarium and the mob trying to get Mom to move us here, and my plan to confront Mr. Shaw armed with facts. It was like an open balloon sputtering words instead of air. As Aiden listened, he flipped his hand over and laced his fingers between mine. When I finished, he was quiet. Well, I asked, what do you think? About which part? Honestly, it would have been nice to know his thoughts on all of it. My project and Mr. Shaw, I said. Then remembering how doubtful he'd been the first time I mentioned my suspicions about the light, I tacked on. I have proof now. Aiden seemed to be suppressing a grin. Well, I don't think you'll be able to get him to see the light. Get it? See the light? Like understanding something he didn't before and, see the light? He gestured toward the luminous end. I tipped my head toward the stars, smiling and groaning at the same time. This was the Aiden I'd been missing, the one who could make me laugh even when I was down. Terrible joke, he said, but I couldn't resist. We both seemed to notice at the same time that he was still holding my hand. He cleared his throat and let my fingers go. The moment was over, and he was solemn Aiden again. Thank you for telling me about your dad. I'm really sorry. I nodded, and he continued. And I didn't mean to be so grumpy and act like I didn't believe you about the beachcomber scaring the turtle away. The light from the inn is bad, and Mr. Shaw should know about it. But please don't bring my grandpa into it. If he loses his job, I won't be coming here. He paused and glumly added, I probably wouldn't see you anymore. The ache in my chest was so hard and sudden I could hardly breathe, let alone say anything. By then, I'd been on the beach for a while and given up on the turtle making an appearance. It seemed nothing good would come that day, but this bombshell was the worst. It was the beginning of summer. We were supposed to be catching up, not saying goodbye. I couldn't bear another separation. We're going to continue on just a little bit. Chapter 9. The subtitle is Florida is the world's most popular nesting site for loggerheads, with tens of thousands of nests built each year. When I snuck back inside, I heard the murmur of voices coming from the kitchen. It didn't surprise me. Mom and Aunt Michelle had met downstairs in the middle of the night on other reunions, chatted until the wee hours of the morning, slept until noon the next day. It had always driven Dad crazy. Mom's voice was too soft to make out what she was saying, but the other voice carried. Olivia disappeared on the trolley for over an hour, Aunt Michelle said. You have to face the fact that she was running away. Obviously, her plan failed and she didn't get very far, but it's just a matter of time before she tries again. I stopped dead in my tracks. They were talking about me. I hadn't been running away. I'd only gone to get a photo of the pier. You need to keep a closer eye on her, Aunt Michelle continued. She's not adjusting well. You know how close she and her father were, and this strange voice showing up to speak with her, that's how it all starts, Turn your back and they get in trouble. How close we were? Were is in the past tense. Anger flared inside me. What did she know? And Aiden wasn't a strange boy. He was Aiden, my friend, and the only person I'd really been able to talk to lately. I fisted my hands until my fingernails cut into the skin of my palms. Olivia is entering her teenage years, and you know her father is going to be preoccupied with work. What kind of supervision will she and Lainey receive while they're at his apartment? Think about it. You'll have more help here. Besides, the less the girls are around that man, the better. Olivia already acts too much like him. I heard her talking down to Cisco this afternoon. He said there was a line in the video they were watching, and she just had to correct him. Aunt Michelle changed the pitch of her voice. It's not a lion, Cisco. It's a leopard. I threw a hand over my mouth to smother a gasp. I'd sounded nothing like my aunt's imitation, all snooty and condescending. I'd only been trying to teach Cisco something, not make him feel bad. Can you imagine, Aunt Michelle continued, he's only 3. You know better than anyone what it feels like to be belittled. Is that how Olivia treats her sister? Is that really the life you want for them? How could she say such awful things? And if anyone belittled Mom, it was her. I was about to burst in on them, tell my aunt she didn't know anything when I heard a muffled sob. I flinched. Mom was crying again. Me charging in and giving Aunt Michelle a piece of my mind would only upset Mom more. Plus, I couldn't come unhinged without proving Aunt Michelle's point, that I wasn't adjusting well. It wasn't easy, but I pulled back all my anger and hurt, contained deep beneath my skin. There was an icy hot burn in my chest, and I knew it was from repacking everything inside. I couldn't listen in anymore. If I did, I might explode. I retreated to my room on the pads of my bare feet. I was careful not to make a peep, but my heart was banging so loudly when I slipped beneath the bed sheets, I was afraid it would wake Lainey. It was a very long time before I was calm enough to sleep. When a ding from my phone woke me early the next morning, Lainey had already slipped out. Sleep had helped some. I felt drained, but at least the blood in my veins was no longer boiling. For a minute, I relished the enormity of the bed without my sister crowding in beside me. Then I rolled over to retrieve my phone. Your big day is coming, Olivia Sweet 13. What's on your wish list? I want to make your birthday special. I sat up straight in bed and carefully considered what to say. Dad's question seemed ripe with opportunity. I didn't want to blow it. The thing was, I knew exactly what I wanted. I just couldn't find the nerve to come right out and ask for it. It took me close to 5 minutes to word my response. I would like a grand gesture. I saw this movie once where a guy gave up his job and moved across the country to be with his girlfriend. She called it a grand gesture and broke into tears. I figured that was as close to saying what I wanted without outright asking him to come visit. Dad took almost as long to respond as I had. When he did, he said, I don't suppose you'd settle for a pony. He was trying to kid his way out, but I wasn't about to let him off the hook. A grand gesture, please, I typed again. Okay, I'll see what I can come up with. By the way, I'm not ashamed to admit I'm living my summer vicariously through you. So what fun things do you have planned for today in the land of paradise? I think we'll stop there. We're on the top of page 93, and we'll see what fun things are planned. Thank you, champions. Have a great weekend and take care of yourselves. See you later.